Advisory Council meeting for today, which is, what is it, September
22nd.
2nd. I sent out an agenda. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have a call to order, which I have. We're going to have a reorganization. Then we'll have the approval of the minutes. Now, the minutes, it was so long ago that they were done in cuneiform from Babylonia. So I'm not sure anybody has the minutes. Then we're going to do a review of the township website, which Jill has offered to do that. Then we're going to do old business, new business, and then we'll have an adjournment. Okay, everybody is present except David Kelleher. Okay, now I will relinquish the chair and the gavel to Fred Weiss, who will be running the reorganization. I'd just like to say one thing. Since we don't have a budget, I do believe the reorganization should be a chair, vice chair, and secretary, and we don't need a treasurer.
Correct. Sounds good.
Okay, Fred, it's all yours.
Okay, so we need nominations for chairman of the committee.
I'd like to nominate Zachary Rubin to be the chair of our committee.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
And seconds, okay. Is there any other nominations? In that case, all those in favor of Zach Rubin being the chair, signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Zach, you're the chair. I'll give the gavel back to you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the support. And I have just a few words for about 45 minutes for the acceptance speech. Anyway, so thank you very much. Now, is there a nomination for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Jill. I'm going to pronounce your, I'm embarrassed to say Laurentitis. I apologize, Jill.
Close enough, Josh.
Close enough. To be
Laurinaitis.
Laurinaitis. To be the chair, the vice chair of our committee.
Is there a second? Second. Any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations are closed. All in favor of Jill, whatever her last name is, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, congratulations, Jill. You want to say a couple of acceptance remarks?
I'll just say thank you very much. How about that?
Very good. Okay, the next thing is a secretary. Now, a secretary does not necessarily mean they're going to take notes, however, or minutes, but we do need somebody to take minutes. And in the past, we've basically, we've had somebody being paid and things like that, but that person's, I don't believe it, is no longer in the area. So so what we need is somebody to take minutes. They don't have to be copious. They don't have to be exclusive. But anyway, is there a nomination for secretary? Or more importantly, a volunteer to be secretary?
I'll give it a shot.
Right.
Okay, Fred, you're.
I would like to nominate
your
Fred
name in the
Young.
nomination, Fred.
I second.
Fred Young. All right, well, let's vote before he changes his mind.
Wait a minute, before you vote, the job of secretary, while the meetings are Zoomed, are recorded. So Janelle will take the minutes. Fred, it would be your responsibility just to make sure everything is written down properly from Janelle before you give it to the committee. If the committees ever become in person, then it will be your job to actually write the minutes, and there must be minutes to every meeting as to the new sunshine law. So
Okay, well, that's very illuminating.
just want to give you the warning before you accept.
Well, that's it, just Fred. So now that you're unburdened, do you want to withdraw your name from nomination?
No, but I want to ask, is Janelle the same person that used to be with us from the township, or that's the person who left town?
That's Jean.
Okay.
Janelle is the township's recording secretary. She's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
no
let's-
further nomination. All in favor of Fred Young being the secretary, raise your hand. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Fred, congratulations.
Muzzle tov. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it.
Or condolences. Okay, so the reason that we basically having this meeting, remember, we agreed to be ad hoc when a need arise, so now there's a need arise. Jill has brought that up. So on the agenda, review of township website. So Jill, you have the floor, so please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I thought it would be a good idea to meet since we haven't met in a very long time and we've been through a pandemic. And as we know, communication is very important during these times. So regarding the township website, let's start with that. I would like to propose that the EMAC committee evaluate and provide recommendations for necessary improvements to the township's website. After conferring with township staff, EMAC committee members, and Bill Kyle, who's still working as the contractor for website maintenance and updates. And this is really for.
Oh, wait, there's a motion. Is there a second? Second. So that's on
Second
the
the
floor.
motion.
Jill, first of all, you want to speak to your motion?
I would like to elaborate on my motion, yes, and see if
Sure.
anybody else has any other comments as well. So I'm suggesting this for a few reasons. It's been about 4 or 5 years since the township website relaunched, and usually sites get a refresh at around that time period because of constantly evolving design, technology, and functionality. And it's my understanding that minimal changes have been made to the website since its relaunching. I think it needs to be assessed to see if it's meeting the goals and objectives of township staff and supervisors, and also to see if residents are using it and finding it helpful. So you can gauge how residents are engaging with the website in a couple of ways. We can take a look at the Google Analytics, which logs the traffic data for the site to see what pages and what content is most visited. And then we can make sure those pages and that information is easily found and accessible from the homepage. And we could also put out a survey of Lower Makefield residents to gather their feedback on the usefulness of the website. And then kind of my personal take on the whole thing is that there's some content that can be consolidated for a better user experience and simplicity. And there can be more visibility on the homepage for subjects and pages that get the most views. For example, like information about the township pool has not been accessible from the homepage for some time. You could also put a social media feed on the homepage from Instagram or Facebook, which is also a nice way to remind people to check those channels for more immediate updates. An email sign-up box could be placed more prominently on the site to gather people's email addresses to improve the township's reach. And, just basically that having regular, reliable, and timely updates on the website and other communication channels are part of community building and fostering trust between residents in the township. So sometimes this gets pushed to the wayside for other reasons, but I really believe that, it comes down to good community relations, and it's important to make information easy to access for people, which is their public right. So I don't know how anyone else is feeling about the township website, or if anybody has anything to say. Do you agree, or?
I have a couple comments. Number one, what you're proposing is basically what our mission, and it is part of the purview of this committee. Number two, you say we should launch a survey. What form would this be?
I'm not sure. It's just an idea at this point. Obviously doing one online is an idea, but then you're not reaching people, who may not be as digitally savvy. So we would have to kind of come up with a plan for a survey if we were to do that, if it's even necessary, if the group thinks it's necessary.
Okay, now, when you propose this, we send out the agenda. I hope some people in this committee did look at the website and has some comments now on basically your proposal. I'd like to say that the search bar in that doesn't work on the website. It's just not functioning. And,
At all? It's not functioning at all, or it just doesn't give?
Not satisfactory. I mean, I put in a couple of key terms. Did anybody else try the search on the website? Yeah. So anyway, so who would try to fix that? Bill?
Yeah. I think Bill would take a look. I touched base with him really briefly, and he has some suggestions also. So I think that if we were to, go ahead with this initiative, he should definitely be consulted as to what he recommends.
Okay, I'd like to ask our liaison for the BOS. Are you familiar with Bill? Salary? Is he working on a retainer? Is he hourly billing if we ask him to do some work? What is the protocol on that?
Well, I don't think he's an employee. I think he's a contracted individual.
Right,
Yeah.
1099.
that works on an hourly basis.
Okay.
Yeah, a contracted rate. So if this motion passes to recommend, a review of the website, it will be to the Board of Supervisors who will determine whether we want to spend money for this to happen.
So you say that we would have to come in front of BOS with a proposal and.
Well, if you wanted to flesh out this motion to make it more inclusive, make it more I forget, to get more out of it. Yeah, you would flesh out your proposal. You would send it to the board, or I would send it to the board, and we would vote on an agenda item to expend the resources to have
So you would not have a problem if we contacted Bill on our own, ask him, how many hours do you think it would take for you to look into what is Jill suggesting, so we come up with some figure?
Actually, that would be a problem. You'd have to talk to Kurt, and Kurt would to do it that way. It would go through the manager.
Okay.
Yeah. The
Why?
committee's purpose is to recommend to the Board of Supervisors actions. Usually the board would vote and have the manager take care of that. You could, of course, as chair, give Kurt, the manager, a call and ask him what the best way to handle it would be, and then you would, go from there.
I will contact Kurt, say that we're looking to review it with one of the professionals, Bill, and what is the best way? Should we come up with some hours that we proposed? Should we just give a carte blanche to the board and say up to 10 hours or 100? I'll ask him what the way we should proceed according to Fred's recommendation. Correct?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, now let's go ahead, Fred Young.
Please don't misunderstand the question, because I may have met Bill once at a previous meeting, but in our last incarnation, there was not a tremendous amount of enthusiasm for design and usability and whatever, and that's pressing a memory that's now a year and a half old. It's been a long time. So
I flies, doesn't it? Yeah.
I ask objectively and without malice, is Bill the right person to continue this project? And if he walked into my home, I wouldn't know him. So I have no agenda. I'm just asking if a website needs a fresh set of eyes. And does he do other work for the township? I don't know the answer to it.
Okay, he was the creator of the website. You know that. And I like to ask Josh Wardorf, who has some background in webs and things. Do you think that's the person? To answer Fred Young's question, what is your response to it, Josh?
I think that websites have evolved over time, and so the reality is that had the menu at the top, and they all looked very cookie cutter. But now there's a lot of creativity. We did take a big step the last time. I think Dave's now on, and he helped a lot with big pictures of the township. And again, the style may well have changed in regard to the best way to do it. Now I think there was a movement at one point where you scroll down forever, you get everything, you just keep going, versus a lot of pages. So we just have to. I do think the real question is, if you're going to do it, if he's the administrator, you may have to work with him. But if we wanted to go so far as to see if there were some people who wanted to redesign it, and maybe they would do it for just for the prestige of it, and you'd have may have some creativity out there. That might be another way of doing it, cutting your costs by seeing what groups out there want to own the.
Well, the website of today, it is more for usability, is more the app than the website, correct?
That's another thing. A lot of stuff is the phone. It's not even having the ability to have it. Oh gosh, what's the word I'm trying to think in terms of having it work on the phone as well. That's one thing. But I do think responsiveness. I think having an app is a whole new game. So basically, people are on their phones, and I think Fred is absolutely correct. Websites are more and more passe, right?
Well,
People are-
kids and pool and activities and people on the go. And again, I'm just throwing it on the table because it's been a while since we've talked. That's all.
I don't think
Okay,
Fred's.
well, Fred, so let's discuss that. It's Josh's opinion. And Fred, I think you're leaning towards this, that maybe we need some fresh eyes to look at it. So maybe this committee can seek out 2 or 3 people who do this and try to get maybe bid it out or something like that to get some proposals. Now, I certainly don't know any people who do web design and things like that. Jill, you have some background in this. Do you know a number of key people who do this with different companies?
I do, but when I'm proposing this idea, but I hear what Josh is saying. I wasn't really proposing a complete relaunch of the site because I don't think that's been budgeted for this year for the township. I was more suggesting a revamp of what's already there, and Bill Kyle is he's working with it all the time. So he knows, I think, what might be improved. He could make some good recommendations for us there. I mean, at the direction of the committee, I can certainly provide, if that's what everybody prefers, I can probably provide some names that can give proposals. But it's my instinct that the township will not, kind of go for that at this time. And I don't know that it's entirely necessary. I believe the site is responsive. That was one of the reasons why we had relaunched it, years ago. So at least there's that. So that's my opinion.
Okay, and
what we have,
And let me ask you. So we have some suggestions. One is contact Bill Kyle to maybe refine it to address some of this committee if we look at it, some of our concerns, or have some fresh eyes and see what other contractors bid out. It doesn't have to be a binary decision, but Ann, what is your opinion on this?
I'd like to backpedal a little bit. And Jill originally suggested that we take a look at the Google Analytics page. It would be nice if we could take a look at some metrics and see, what are people actually looking at or looking for. And to your point, Zach, that search tool has not been terrifically helpful ever.
Right. Oh, okay.
If you enter a one-word item, then links will come up. But if you ask a question like, how much does it cost to join the pool? How much is a membership at the pool? Maybe it's just me, but that didn't come up easily on our website. I could go looking for it and find it, but that's just to address the search tool. So one, we want to know how useful is our website? How useful is our app? What are people looking at? I think Jill's suggestion is great. What would you like to see in a website? But I don't know, we would have to know first who's looking at our website to know if we've got the critical mass to really send us a random survey to,
Okay, well, let's talk about it. Dave Kelleher, are you on with us? And if you are, can you unmute yourself?
I'm here, Zach. Go ahead.
Okay. I think you're the most familiar with Google Analytics, correct?
Yes, we did the analytics for the site prior to the change to the new site was Park and Recs by 80% over everything. I mean, that's what it was, Park and Recs, and then it was zoning, and then I forget from there what was next, but the majority was Park and Rec.
How long ago was that done?
The website's been, 3 years? 3 years,
Okay.
over 3 years ago.
So we haven't visited that recently.
I have not seen any analytics prior to the new website being launched.
Okay. To address Joe's point, you're volunteering now to look at the Google Analytics to figure out where the traffic's going to that website. And if it's not going to certain places, how to direct it towards there, maybe?
Sure. I mean, again, it's reaching to Bill Kyle to ask him if analytics are set up on the site.
Well, as far as you know, they are, aren't they?
I do not know. Since the site's been launched, I have no idea what's been happening.
Okay. Well, we're still on the motion to re-examine it. I'd like to, we're still on that motion, but can we, with consensus, we're breaking a little parliamentary procedure, ask David to contact Bill Kyle to see if, number one, there's still Google Analytics.
That's a
And number
tactic.
two, let him to run them. What's that, Josh?
That's a tactic. I don't think it has anything to do with the proposal. That's how we may accomplish what Jill is proposing, but I don't think we need to add it to her proposal.
Okay, so you're saying it's out of order what I'm
I
proposing.
think it's a tactic.
Okay, all right. The point's well taken, Josh. Okay. Getting back to Jill's original thing. Anybody else comment about?
I do have one comment.
This committee to, next time we reconvene, everybody will have some kind of punch list to look at it and say, there's not enough illustrations, it's confusing, the links are not active, blah, 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 blah. Josh, you have a comment?
That's what I did the past two updates is I literally went through every page and clicked on every link to see if there's something still there, it's pointed someplace. I don't know if I guess this is to Fred, has the township made an effort to create like permits that are PDF writable PDFs so people can type their information in and save it and then not have to print out a form, handwrite it, and scan it back? Have you added that? That's the
I don't
type of
think so.
feature.
Yeah,
That's the type
that'd
of
be
feature I
nice.
think would be very helpful.
Yeah.
As an example, but that's a tactic. But that, I think, again, I'm more than willing to click through all the links again and give my report on what's working and not working.
Well, what was the answer to your inquiry? Is it a PDF form?
He doesn't think it's been done. That would
Fred
be,
Weiss, you don't think
It
so?
never was.
So in other
No.
words, somebody can't go to a website and download an application for a permit or electronically. fill the
that they
permit.
can do. That they can do.
You
But
can't
then
fill it
have
online.
They have to fill it out and then scan it and then send it back in.
Well, Zach, if you recall, there was, I think it was Unilogic. There was supposed to be a software interface that was going to allow for zoning forms to be filled out online.
I do remember
don't want
that.
to. I don't
And
want
the
to
last
begrudge
person-
the.
The last
I don't want to
person
begrudge
that
the
proposed
prior
that was
town
Pete
manager, but I don't
Kingsford,
think he
by the
was
way.
very savvy
You know,
when it came to this stuff.
but as far as we know, that's not happening, right? Unilogic, which was an add-on to the software that was purchased a couple of years ago. And to my knowledge, I don't think that was, the add-ons were ever purchased.
I don't think it was integrated into the township system.
Right. Now, if we have somebody who's not a member of our committee and is not a liaison, but is a member of the public who is now in our house, does he have a comment about the Unilogic or any familiarity with that? In other words, the viability of the website to electronically do permitting and things like that? No.
Yeah, I don't think Munilogic's structured that it could handle the online form. I think that software has not been updated in a long while, and I'm not sure we have the most recent version of it that would allow us to do that. There are other form-based software solutions that the township could use that would meet our security requirements and allow us to do processing of applications online.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to the original, Jill. Your motion, because these are other motions we're going to start making. These are secondary and third things that not necessary. The general thing is that we all agree to look at the website, come up with some comments. When we reconvene, we'll bring them to Jill or everybody's attention. In the interim, David, you're going to talk to Bill Kyle about the analytics and things like that. See if they're available, because then you can bring that back to the committee and say, we have to add that and things like that. Okay. So is there any John, you have a comment?
Mr. Chairman, I think with respect to Google Analytics, Mr. Kyle can give access to the Google Analytics for the township to a township employee or another person that is a volunteer for them to have read-only access to so we wouldn't have to go back to him to get reports.
Okay, I'd like to ask the liaison to the BOS, is there a specific employee of the township who updates the website, who basically is the webmaster and things like that in the manager's office?
The person who updates it is who we were just talking about.
Is that Katie?
No, no.
Lynn?
You were just saying it, Dave.
Bill
His name, yeah.
Bill Kyle.
Bill Kyle.
Okay, but you just said he's not an employee. So every time it has to be updated, somebody sends him an email and he puts it up and then he gives an hourly rate or something like that?
Bill, I don't know what exactly how Bill Kyle is treated. I think he's a contracted individual, but he may be an employee. I'm not sure.
I think that he's a contractor, and I think he is making most of the updates.
Usually the manager directs Bill Kyle to do something that's done.
Okay, so my question, so if I'm at a township meeting and somebody said, I would like to see the budget put on our website, and Kurt says, yes, it will be put on there. You're saying Bill Kyle puts it on there? There's not an assistant to Kurt who does that? As far as you know?
As far as I know.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's deal with this. Okay, the motion is for to re-examine the thing, and then we can get into some of the specifics. But let's call the question, because then we can go into some ancillary stuff. Any further discussion on it? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of Jill's proposal, please raise their hand. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, so when our next meeting, in which we'll talk about at the end of the meeting, we will be proposed to come up with a punch list. Josh, the last time you did it, the punch list, we submitted it to the township and it went nowheres. So, and I don't want to name names, but it was the township manager. Why don't we try doing that again? Okay. I certainly like your expertise, Josh, and Jill, I'm sure you have a lot of background in this. And let's go there. Okay, now, any other things on the website that we're going to try to improve? And unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, that's an awful lot to ask Josh to do, to go through every doggone.
Yeah, but he volunteered, so next point, yes.
Okay, well, another thought is.
I did all the work before. I just probably resubmit my report in an hour.
Yes. Well, he has nothing
There
to do
are other
between now and
things to look
November
at.
3rd or November 2nd. So go ahead.
But aside from the links, Jack, you were talking about the functionality of the search bar, search engine, that might be something that we could all experiment with, or maybe we can come up with a list of things we can do. John?
Search function doesn't work appropriately, and it's missing large portions of the site.
Yes. If you were not tardy, we discussed that already, by the way.
I think when Dave Kelleher goes back and talks to Bill, I think he could ask for Bill's recommendation on how to improve the search functionality. And I'm sure that Bill would have some recommendations on how to do it. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, David, you'll follow.
Sure, I can bring that up to him. No problem.
Okay, good.
Also, there's some issues with the responsiveness. I'm not totally happy with how the site looks on a telephone. If you happen to go to the supervisors pages, the pictures are all out of whack. They're different sizes. So I think there needs to be a look at the responsiveness too.
And does Bill Kyle do that?
Yeah, it's all part of the software package that he's using. I think he's using WordPress, but yeah, whatever CMS he's using.
It's WordPress. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me just say that he did the mobile application at least 3 years ago. He is the township webmaster, basically, right? Now, in 3 years, he has not brought up, the photos aren't there, the search engines are not there. Why hasn't he?
It's
You
not-
know, I mean, he deals with it on a regular basis. We don't. So this goes back to Fred Young's inquiry before. Why hasn't he? And it's not a rhetorical question.
Well, has there been a punch list provided to him as far as these issues that are being brought to him? I mean, when you build out a
But
site,
not by us, but
No,
why
Not the new
hasn't he
ones.
provided the punch list?
I don't think, I mean, I could be wrong, but perhaps there's not really one central person on the township staff that is dealing with these website issues. It sounds like he's been making most of the updates that are given to him, but I don't think there's been any, concentrated effort on improving the newish site that's now almost 5 years old. It's just kind of been, we've been coasting and doing minimal updates because there's, some cost involved in continuing to improve it. So,
Right.
he may feel that, he's supposed to stay within a certain amount of hours every month. And, that's just what he's doing. So
Now, of course, years ago, we came up with a solution, a communications director for the township that would be in charge of these things.
Mhm.
And it went nowheres, of course, for budgetary reasons and things like that. But there has to be, let me ask the liaison, does Monica Tierney have any input not on the Parks and Recreation website, but for the township's website?
I think if Bill Kyle can't, Monica can do that work, but that's not her job.
I understand that. I'm asking her,
Yeah.
does she have put stuff in there? And
I think at times she has. I don't know if it's a regular function of hers.
Who is that person?
Does she handle the Facebook page or the Twitter account and things like that, to your knowledge?
She handles the Park and Rec version of it.
Right.
I don't think she handles the general township announcements. How that goes, I'm not really familiar how exactly what the logistics chain is to get that on. So, I mean, that's a good question. And I can surely ask staff exactly how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, we all know for a Twitter account or for Facebook, it has to be fresh. It has to be up to date. So apparently somebody is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can see, I mean, I get pretty timely
Right.
notifications through Twitter and the Facebook page.
Is she the Parks and Rec director? I'm sorry, I didn't catch. Is that who you're referencing?
Monica Tierney is the Park and Rec.
Okay. I just didn't quite get the name. Yes, thank you.
And she does put out the Park and Rec information.
I know that.
Yeah, and
And she
I
was
think,
quoted on the swimming pool issues this summer as I
Right.
recall. Right. Okay.
and I think the police department has their own person
Right.
that
Right.
does the Twitter and Twitter feed. They don't have. I don't think they do a Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the website update? Okay. Now on the review of the township website. Now, under old business, Jill, you wanted to bring something up for old business?
I did. I wanted to bring two quick things up.
They don't have to be quick, but bring them up.
Okay. Is it time? Okay. Well, the first one I just wanted to talk about Ready Bucks, and we've talked about this in the past. I'm a little concerned about the township's communication plan in the case of an emergency. Most municipalities take a multi-channel approach to messaging and information to reach all segments of their population. I'm concerned about Ready Bucks because in the past, I've questioned whether or not the messages are reaching everybody they're supposed to. I know there was one incident, I remember talking to John Lewis about it a couple of years ago, where some people got, a message and other people didn't. I don't remember, exactly what the situation was. But I'm wondering if it's tested regularly, so we know that, it's working. So I don't know, Fred Weiss, if you have any information about that, but.
I don't know any of the technology that goes into ReadyBucks. It's a subscription service.
Yeah.
There's also, I think Yardley Borough has Everbridge, another service.
Yeah, I think that's the same company. It's the same.
Well, yeah, I subscribe to both because
Yeah.
I live right at the border
Right.
between the township and the borough.
Well, I can answer ReadyBucks is working. Every time there is some kind of violent weather thing, I get a text, I get an email, I get a robocall.
Yeah, but that
Especially if it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
that might be the National Weather Service. That
This is ReadyBucks. I've been getting it. Now the question is harvesting emails and phone numbers to people join. Now I know it's always on the website ReadyBucks. I know on occasion the police chief is always asking people to sign up for it and things like that. Now I don't have the magic solution to get people to give their emails to ReadyBucks, which I think works. I think it works well.
I guess that's my question. I'm wondering if it is tested regularly. And I'm positive about this, Zach, that it is two different things. There's ReadyBucks, and then there's the National Weather Service that pushes out
the National Weather Service. I get that beep, beep, beep,
yes,
beep,
that's,
beep.
yeah.
When I'm trying to watch
it is
a
two
cable
different
TV
things.
show or something
Yeah.
like that.
I'm with Jill. I get those beep 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 warnings.
Yeah, they are
From
two
the National
different.
Weather Service, but also ReadyBucks. Yeah.
I think
Right,
everybody with
signed up for
an
ReadyBucks,
iPhone
but
gets them.
Fred Young, what are you saying?
I'm sorry. I think everybody with an iPhone now gets the weather alerts that we all experienced during the tornadoes, which brings me to quickly to another point, just because my mind isn't totally non-functioning after a few years out of the news business. But wouldn't this be a good time for the person that controls the editorial content of that website to do a recap on tornado warnings, police accessibilities in the aftermath of all the severe weather that we had this summer and we're probably going to have more of this winter, this fall and winter? It might be a way to enhance that website. Is there an editorial person per se that does that for the site?
I will contact the police chief, ask him about our concerns about ReadyBucks. How did the emergency management get the thing out? And let's, ask him what his response is. And if he believes there somehow it could be improved or something like that, because that's his bailiwick.
No, he
He's in
wants
charge
to
of the
talk to us.
emergency management.
Didn't he talk to us, or did I see him speak at a township meeting? But he is quite passionate about that. I recall that.
Yeah, I mean, we've never had him in front of this august committee.
Well, it must have been a township meeting then that I saw.
But is that an august committee? Okay. But
Maybe a
anyway,
July committee.
okay, so with that, I'll contact, with that, we'll try to address your concern, and with that, Jill, to find out. how
Yeah,
it could
I
be
think if you
improved.
could specifically ask him if it is tested. I'm just curious to know if it is. I've never seen any information about how it's tested, or and so
Right.
forth. So that's, I think, is kind of important.
Okay. You have your hand up, Josh? Unmute yourself.
I did have my hand up. I need to apologize to the group. I have a second meeting that I started also at 7:30, but I told them I'd be late because I wanted to say hi to everybody. I look forward to talking to you. And this is the time to assign me more.
Exactly. And once you
mundane
leave,
things.
you can rest assured we will assign you a lot of tasks.
Jill, I really appreciate your pushing us to meet, and I'm very excited to get this stuff moving. And if there are any videos we need to be doing, that was also Fred and John are here. I think they were really great for our overall community, and I would hope that you would find some funding or resource for promotion. We did some great things to try to attract business here to the township, and those are really important to to do. So again, that'll be my bid.
Okay, well,
Again,
thank you for your time, Josh. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Josh.
it.
it's good to see
Thanks,
everybody. Hope I'll
Josh.
see you on the
You.
street at
Good to see
the
you.
Giant or McCaffrey's. We'll see you all soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And Jill, you had another old business to bring up?
I did want to ask one more question about internal social media policies. I believe our group made a recommendation several years ago that an internal social media policy be adapted for township staff and supervisors. I'm wondering if that ever happened. Was there one ever drafted and adopted? And if so, like, can we see it, or, is it being followed?
You mean a protocol or a mission statement or parameters? Is that what
Basically,
you're saying?
a policy for posting on social media that gives staff and supervisors some parameters of what they should be doing and how they should be doing it.
No, there is no township policy for elected officials. Elected officials are only restrained by the second-class township code. And there is actual township supervisor's handbook. The staff does have, I think, a policy on posting. The police department definitely has a social media policy for the police officers and staff.
Okay.
I think the manager has policies for staff members to post.
Okay,
But that's-
Ann, you have
that's
your
about
hand
it.
up. Unmute yourself, please.
I think the issue was, or one of the issues was, how do we deal with maybe negative people, maybe, people who get unnecessarily nasty. Was that?
The social media pages of, excuse me, Ann, if I think I understand what you're saying, but the township Facebook page, Twitter feed, usually doesn't accept comments. It's used as a bulletin board for announcements.
Well, you're saying usually, is it never?
I see a comment occasionally on a post, maybe one, maybe two. It might be because they just escaped the filters. I'm not sure, so I don't want to say never.
Okay, so
But-
it's not prohibitive, but it's not basically used on a regular basis.
It's not.
The
Yeah.
input. Okay,
Right.
when we talked about Facebook, we talked about it's a way of judging the views of the community, and we're afraid that there would be negative stuff and profanity and things like that, which has not been the case. But it could be one of the reasons is that very few people are being directed to the Facebook page, so it's not being utilized, which could be an issue.
Well, I mean, there's over 3,000 members of the Facebook page. Twitter has well over 1,000. I know, in a 33,000 person township, that's not a lot.
But it's significant.
The Board of Supervisors, on all the agendas now puts on all the media pages that you can access township information. We know there's a number of unofficial pages that are monitored by residents, where people can opine, but the township, from what I know of this point, will not participate in the unofficial pages because we have the official pages.
Oh yeah, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
So, Ann, I mean, so it hasn't really been an issue. You're concerned. I'm not saying it won't come up in the future, but
I think it's policed. Yeah, I think it's policed well. We don't see any negative. We get negative comments from personal emails and from the phone, through the township phone numbers, and
So my question is, again, who polices the Facebook page?
I think everything's done through Bill Kyle. I mean, I think it's set up that you can't comment on posts from the township.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that answers the question. So it's basically one way. And
Correct.
it's not a way of harvesting input
No.
and comments from the
Yeah.
public.
Public
Now-
participation should be through one-on-one contact or at a public meeting.
Right, and the supervisors have their emails out and they're in the public, and that is a way of contacting people, voice their concerns. And I'm sure once in a while you might get a negative comment.
Once in a while, not too often.
I'm sure it's rare.
Rare, very rare.
Okay, so Jill and Ann, does that sort of answer your question? Or and Fred says, Weiss said, there's already a township policy that's administratively there. So there is some kind of protocol permission that's already been established, which is what you're asking for, Jill, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so just to kind of play it back, the township social media channels are really one way. They're to push information out, right? And being a Facebook administrator for both groups and pages, I know that, if you have 3,000 followers on your Facebook page, it's likely that when you push that information out, it's not going to all 3,000 people. It's going to about 25% of your audience. So that concerns me a little bit because that's for a few reasons. It's because of the Facebook algorithm. They recognize you as a page, so they know that you're an organization or a business, and they're not going to distribute your information to all of your followers because they want you to advertise to get your messages out. So that's one thing. The second thing is, I think, and it's no fault of the current board, but the township waited so long to establish social media channels that people started getting their information other ways online, and they're still in the habit of doing that. And because the Facebook is set up so that it's one-way communication, there's not a lot of engagement. Engagement also helps to boost your information distribution in the algorithm. So that's not happening. So that's why I had also, thought to bring up that it's, not a bad idea, to share some of the very, very important township content and updates that are put out on social media to some of the more responsible, larger groups of people in the township. And I had suggested perhaps, appointing somebody to do that or whatever, but it is, any supervisor has that First Amendment right. They can share that information on a group if they please, as long as they're doing it in a way that's compliant with the law, and that they are supposed to have a separate social media account that identifies them as a supervisor of the township. So just wanted to kind of, bring these factors into it also. That it's, I think, our group advocated for social media for the township for so long, and we're so glad that, it's finally being done, and the effort is being made, and somebody's doing a very good job. So, we appreciate all that. But that in distributing information, and especially in an emergency situation, it's a good idea to, just keep all that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have old business? I'd like to bring up a couple of things. As you know, a long time ago, this was the Cable TV Advisory Committee, which has morphed into what we are. We were concerned with the franchise agreements, basically the implementation of the franchise agreements, the build outs. Now, both they've expired. The way it is that if they're at an impasse, that is the township with Verizon or Comcast, it's extended to what we have in place. And as far as I know, there's absolutely no update in the status. The status quo is the same. So there's no information. I don't have any. Does anybody else have any information? As you know, Mr. Ferguson is our representative to the county consortium, which has hired the law firm out of Pittsburgh, but I have not had an update in 2 years since the Verizon franchise has expired. So that's the update on that. There's no update. Number two, we were concerned that when 5G came into this area, they were going to put on every pole, they're going to put some kind of broadcasting thing, and that's never come to fruition. So luckily, we don't have to worry about boxes on every telephone line, on every any type of stop sign or any type of light post every 10 or 20 or 30 yards. So I guess the technology for 5G has been basically using the cell towers, as far as I know. John Lewis, do you have any comment on 5G?
Well, there has been proposed legislation that would limit the rights of municipalities to regulate the placement of 5G antennas and restrict the abilities and limits and fees and require certain service level for that.
Do we have 5G service in Lower Makefield?
It depends on the carrier and the type of 5G that you're talking about. There's two types of 5G. So there's a lesser form of 5G that we do have, but we don't have what Verizon, the real 5G, which uses requires more antennas and is used for mainly urban areas.
Okay, so as far as you know, it hasn't been an issue of putting up these towers or these wires or these relays and things like that. So we have like a 5G light or something like that. So it's not an issue of putting these boxes all around, which originally we thought would be a big problem.
Well, eventually these mini towers will be installed, but I don't think the technology is ready. And the legislation that John has been alluding to is still, I think, in the legislature, but it's not getting a lot of traction, thank goodness, because it would really limit the township's ability to collect fees and control where these mini towers go.
Okay, but there's no mini towers in this area. And every time I see the T-Mobile saying that there's 5G all over, it's not real 5G. It's just a marketing thing.
Probably true.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not the same. I hate to use the brand name of, one of the providers of the space, but for many of the providers that are talking about what they call 5G, it's not that dramatically different than 4G LTE in terms of speed and structure. However, there is, those networks will evolve and continue to improve, and that 5G speeds will increase over time. But the super fast 5G, I don't know if it's ultra wideband, I believe it's called, I'm trying to use the non-branded version of the term, is in only a few locations nationwide. So most of what you have is the 4G LTE upgrades. It's ultra wideband is where you get the high speeds and the more frequent boxes.
Well, I don't trust any equipment that's not Huawei. That's the only one I ever want to use.
Well, unfortunately, Huawei is under sanction from the U.S. government.
I know that.
But
okay. That's any else on old business? Okay. Any new business? No business. Okay, so let me recap what we're doing here. Dave Kelleher is going to contact Bill Kyle and talk about certain what he can do about search engines and the analytics and things like that. I will contact Kurt Ferguson and say, we're going to have some recommendations. What is the procedure? There might be some cost involved and things like that. Do we go through you? You make the proposal to the Board of Supervisors, whatever the procedure is, I will contact him. I will contact the police chief to see if Ready Bucks tests on a regular basis, how it can be improved, how we can harvest more emails or phone numbers and things like that. Okay, we're all tasked to look at it, and especially Josh, we're all going to say now that he's not here, is going to do the heavy lifting on that. Okay, when we convene now, since we haven't been meeting, but every year we have a schedule because they are public meetings if we ever have a meeting, and as of now we're on record of meeting every other month, bi-monthly. If we meet in 2 months from now, it's the fourth Thursday of the month, and that's Thanksgiving. Now, I don't know about you, but I might be busy on Thanksgiving evening. Do we want to meet next month? And it's the fourth Thursday. Now, it's our impression, and Fred Weiss, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we can never meet downstairs because it's not ADA compliant?
Correct. You have to meet in the large meeting hall.
Okay, now on the fourth Thursday of the month, it is the airport people who meet there in the big room.
Well, John is the liaison for that. I think they meet, John, do they meet?
We've
Zoom,
been meeting
Zoom?
virtually via Zoom. So we had a meeting yesterday via Zoom, and it's likely that'll continue for a while.
Okay, well, you say yesterday, that's a Tuesday. Is that a regular meeting time? Or just everybody came to its convenient time to have a meeting?
It became when it was a convenient time combined with the slot. So I don't think that you would have a problem if you were looking for an in-person meeting on the fourth Thursday in October.
Okay, I mean, I personally have no problem meeting in person. But is everybody vaccinated, I assume? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody not vaccinated? Because if they're not, then move to Florida or Texas. Okay. Anybody have, well, what's your pleasure? Do you want to do virtual? Or
I
you want to
do.
put, or do you want to put pants on and meet in person? And what's your position?
I prefer meeting by Zoom.
By Zoom. Fred, what do you think?
I love to just be in a room with people, and after not having been in many rooms lately, but I would do whatever you all decide.
Okay, and what's your preference?
I already told you my preference. You're asking Jill probably.
Oh, wait a minute. What was your preference, Ann? I have short-term memory.
Meet virtually.
Virtually. Okay, Jill, what do you think?
I would actually prefer to meet in person.
Okay, David?
Virtual.
Okay. Well, it seems to me that the consensus is virtual. There's no reason to vote 3-2 or something like that, but, okay. So we'll have a meeting the fourth Thursday of October, which is, 1, 2, 3, is on the 28th at 7:30. Fred Weiss, you'll instruct Katie, whoever that is, to send out the link sometime next month.
First of all, Katie will have to make sure that it can be done that day.
Okay,
But,
if it can,
But I'll give
well,
her.
you're
I'll
saying
give her-
that you're saying
call
you
her
can't
tomorrow.
have, you can't have more than one Zoom meeting at a time?
Well, right. So there's different times during the day. There's time slots. I think one's at 5, there's one at 6:30, one at 7:30. So, and it's only on certain weeks because we have to set up the staff to do the. Dave knows this better than me.
You mean you have to contact the Mid-Atlantic or whatever it is?
Yeah, Katie will coordinates it all, but so fourth Thursday, October
28th, 7:30.
28th at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah,
Okay, I will send that email out now, and we'll get a response tomorrow.
sure. Any other business?
I just
And,
wanted to mention that, oh, I'm sorry, Fred.
Go ahead, Ann.
I just wanted to mention that we're on Facebook Live. That might be another reason why we can have only one meeting at a time, because you can't be featuring
That's right. Yeah.
ongoing meetings at Facebook.
Now, since we're on Facebook Live, is it being recorded on YouTube, this meeting?
Yes.
It's
That's what I
a good
said.
thing- it's
As
a
long
good
as-
thing you
as
didn't
long as we
know
have
that.
virtual meetings, the meetings are recorded forever. So Fred Young's job will be easy.
Thank you so much, because I was really starting to sweat about 10 minutes into this.
Okay, so next month, when we have this approval of the minutes, I'll say, who has watched YouTube? Is there any comments? All in favor, so, okay.
So all of these will be broadcast on YouTube?
Over and over again. You can pick
Over,
it
I'll
up
have
anytime you
to
want.
have to get my hair done.
David,
just
you have a
send-
comment?
No, I'm just going to
Kelleher?
send Bill. I'm going to send Bill Kyle a link to the YouTube video, and we'll get our answer.
Okay, that's.
Good idea.
Okay. Any other business? If not, a motion to adjourn is in order.
Second?
Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.